free rides to new highs as we follow up on the big three, actually big four in this case, as we have added XRP to the mix. So it's going to be Solana, XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin in that order for today. And just following up on the last few months thread of analysis as we have watched these things very, 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 very importantly put in and confirm higher lows on the higher term timeframes and now following through. So now it is actually coming to the more exciting time of this market, if you will, as things kind of just fly up and to the right, or basically just to new all-time highs, free rides, if you will. Anyways, before we get to that, I want to give you a quick heads up that we're actually going to have a sale on all of the programs and services here on our Teachable School for this next week, which is going to be, Black Friday. In fact, well, actually, for the people who are watching on a Sunday, we'll actually open up the sale right now. You know, if you do want to jump in, I guess why wait? And the code will be black in all capitals, just black in all capitals. And in particular, you can get anything 20% off. In fact, the Quant Prime service, you can get 25% off on all of your payments for the lifetime of your subscription. You can also just buy lifetime as well, which is also discounted, blah, 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 blah. If you're a more, sophisticated trader, you're looking to automate your trades, that is something to perhaps consider over there, amongst other things. All right, sweet. Enough shilling. Now let's get into some shilling of crypto magic internet money assets, right? Digital assets. Yes, indeed. Anyways, here's the look on Solana. Again, just following up for the people who have been here for a while. It was very, very important when Solana started to confirm this higher low back on over in early October. It has just been follow through ever since then. And that has been that is why we focus so much on trend on this channel, especially when looking at the long term, which I think a lot of people are very much interested in. Now, in this case, Solana has actually already reached new all-time highs as of this past week, printing a high of 264.5. So, what do I expect from here? Continuation, honestly. Can there be short-term pullbacks? Sure, but ultimately there is an implied target based off of the prior consolidation that Solana was in all the way from March being resolved earlier this month, and that would be pointed up towards about 350, great number right there. On top of that, we do see, or actually I'll get into that in a moment, but let's go back here, and we can also probably plot some Fibonacci extensions just to see some other areas of interest if and when Solana does, hit 350. Probably going to be at a bit of correction sideways and down, but from there, areas of interest to the upside are going to be about 450. You got 520. And then a big one at just around 600, or just above 600. So I would be cognizant of that as well. Of course, that's further down the road. It's not going to happen this week, I suspect. One thing before the next, but again, preparation for the future here. Anyways, Solana, as far as it goes, as long as it is above this 230 pivot right here on a daily closing basis, the direction is up. If Solana does come back down to, below 230 and close a higher term time frame below there, something else perhaps is going on. Expect a more prolonged consolidation. We have to redo the analysis, which would be very, very unfortunate because this analysis has been more or less the same since late September, early October. So again, short term, can we see corrections here? Yeah, absolutely, no problem at all. Let me just reference my notes. Actually, I completely forgot where they are. There they are. Yes, okay, beautiful. So that would be our failure point. But until then, up and to the right, it's the name of the game. Of course, when we go over here to the monthly time frame, I think that it is very, 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 very interesting to see that the monthly stochastic momentum is crossing freshly back onto the upside as of this month, and it's going to continue with upside momentum as long as Solana remains above essentially $200 by the end of this month of November, which we have a little bit under a week now left to go. So, looking likely as of right now, but of course we've all seen crazier things than that. So now getting a little bit more into the weeds here, talking about when to actually be expecting a high for Solana, or how to judge the next at least potential for like a major high, like a weekly high. I'm not talking about a daily. Daily can happen, in between here many times. But as far as the next weekly high goes, it'd be very similar to Bitcoin. I'm not looking for any sort of a major high until we at minimum get the weekly BBWP representing volatility back above at least 85 percentile. And when we're talking about cycle highs, we really want to see that into the deep 90s, if not 100. And that can even happen multiple times within a cycle. So we'll see how these strong, we'll see how it's like dyslexia speaking right now. We'll see how strong these things are. But looking at just even the weekly RSI right now, yes, you can have a pullback in the short term, can retest somewhere around the edge of the bullish control zone, but ultimately this one very likely does head up further into the 80s and create some sort of divergence before we have anything resembling even the next major weekly high. So for right now, things do look more or less good. Could there be a reconnect with the 5 exponential coming into next week? Yeah, definitely possible. Where would that potentially be around? Probably 230. So just be aware of that. Again, 230, big pivot. $200, very, very big pivot. If $200 is taken out to the downside, then something completely different is going on. I mean, that would actually be quite bearish. But one thing before the next, again, until those criterias are negated or violated, up and to the right is the name of the game here, and higher term timeframes are just more or less continuation as far as this goes. So if you are more long-term minded, again, be aware there can be short-term pullbacks, maybe 230, maybe even low 200s, but ultimately up and to the right is the direction here, likely for the next month or two, as this one does seem to take the second pull position after Bitcoin. And yeah, just kind of going across the board here, seeing more or less the same thing. So, all right, going on into XRP now. XRP we spoke about last week. XRP was trading just above $1, and we said, hey, the breakout is real. This very likely gets follow through, and it got follow through a little bit more now to our next magical line right here, which is about 169, just coming in from the highs of April of 2021 rally, and also the closing highs that we did see from the 2017 rally as well. So just by the nature of retesting significant highs like this on a higher term time frame, like the monthly, you're very, very likely to pull back from this. So I suspect that we will see a short-term pullback from here. If we go down to the daily time frame, we can see that there is extreme conditions on daily BBWP, which it's working off of right now. So I would be looking at that as likely to consolidate for a while longer. And also daily RSI is going to have some bearish divergence here upon confirmation of a local high, which will happen below about 137 on a daily closing basis. So, does this one pull back a little bit? Sure. Yeah, very, very likely, yes. I mean, I'm sure many people know how XRP trades. It fucking pumps and then it dumps out of nowhere. It just has these crazy moves at, both the upside and the downside. But likely this one does pull back from here. Maybe it looks something a little bit like this. Maybe even could come all the way back down closer to $1. I mean, that's not out of the question for XRP. But as long as it's above, again, that monthly pivot of 93 cents on a monthly closing basis, the breakout is real, and very, 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 very likely this does get continuation. Looking at the monthly right here, I do want to be aware that, again, monthly BBWP is nowhere near critical levels, nor is, I think, the weekly. Actually, no, the weekly is actually already is quite high. So that is rather interesting right here. But when I look at the monthly other oscillators, or sorry, not other oscillators, but just other oscillators, I guess, the monthly Joule is having a perfect signal to the upside right here. Well, I mean, technically that perfect signal did begin in September/October, but very likely this does continue upwards and onwards from here. On top of that, when we look at monthly stochastic momentum, we can see that stochastic momentum is also positioned to the upside as long as XRP is above 57 cents. I mean, it's close to 3x that number. And it's also going to have a chance to break this long-term trendline regression, which has been holding in the high since 2017. This is the 2017 high right here, the 2021 high right here, and also earlier the rejection in this year around January. But if this month does, close really anywhere above $1, it will reclaim that and very likely indicate that something completely new is going on, which you would expect because this is essentially a 8 month, or sorry, not 8 month, but 8 year. Is it 8 years? No, 6 years. 6-year long consolidation being resolved. So again, one thing before the next, very likely does have a bit of a short-term pullback relatively soon. But anything above $1 is still bullish as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, that's really all that I have to say about that. Yeah, 93 cents, the big number to be aware of on this one. So just I feel like I'm missing some on XRP. Maybe it does have maybe one more stab a little bit higher, closer to $2, but ultimately, very likely it's going to have a short-term pullback here very, very soon. Yeah, I would actually say very likely does come from this current region right here. I do not think that it'll get one more stab up before playing out a downside correction first, but that's okay. Corrections are healthy and likely sets it up for a pretty good December as well. Anyways, moving on to Ethereum, I have the lowest amount of notes for this one. Again, it's just because the analysis analysis hasn't changed too much here as well. Similar to Solana, we did identify this higher low on the higher term timeframes. This one coming in a little bit later in October, but from there it has been follow through, just not as fast as Solana, as XRP, as most things in this market that are moving. Do I think that Ethereum is going to get left behind? I mean, it already kind of has been left behind, I guess, but very likely it does play a bit of catch up here. I do think that it's going to generally be up from here. But ultimately, the point of failure now is very, very obviously last week's low, which is essentially $3,000. Very nice round even number to remember. Technically, you could probably put that down to like 29.11, but 3,000 it's very likely going to do it in this case. And I would be looking at Ethereum as very, very likely to fall through to the upside here. Next area of interest, the upside is going to be 36, 20-ish region, maybe a short-term pullback there, but I don't know how relevant that's going to be. Very likely we do see the $4,000 highs retested from earlier this year in March, and from there, it's very likely that Ethereum just probably makes new highs. Going over here to the monthly, wrong chart. Let me go to the monthly over here. Monthly stochastic momentum is actually still positioned to the downside, funnily enough, but it will officially cross back onto the upside if Ethereum does close above 3,600 at the end of this month. So if you see Ethereum have a pretty crazy week this week, and you do see it close above 3,600, that's that would be a pretty good indication that I would be looking at to essentially confirm that this thing is going to start like a mega move, similar to what we've seen on the other crypto assets like Bitcoin, like Solana, like et cetera, but until then, still, I guess it's a little bit under pressure. Again, $3,000, big pivot right there. As long as it's above, I'd generally be looking up and to the right. Below there, okay, something else perhaps going on. As always, we have to have some sort of failure points, for these sort of things, because nothing's guaranteed, obviously. But as far as Ethereum goes, is it going to play catch up here? Probably yes. Weekly momentum to the upside, monthly momentum about to cross the upside, 5-day, 2-day, daily, all up as well, I suspect. Even the weekly here, by the way, is going to be actually maybe a little more obvious on the 5-day time frame. No, not even quite there as well. But both, all higher term timeframes in unison here, in concert, as they do show upside momentum, even the weekly above 2,700. So ultimately, Ethereum, can it have short-term corrections even here? I mean, I guess it could. Could easily come back down to like 3250-ish region, but again, upside is like the name of the game. It's that time of the cycle. The timing's right. The market conditions are right, and Ethereum's, just taking its time. In fact, we should probably look at Ethereum Bitcoin. I'm just curious to see. I know that we're getting a little bit deeper into this video right now, but might as well. Still pretty ugly chart. How much more can it get beat up before it does get something resembling like a bounce? I guess it could get beat up more. I mean, I guess it could come down to 2.5 million satoshis or something like that. But we'll see. I mean, I suspect that if Ethereum starts to break out versus US dollar parent, it should theoretically have a good response, meaning that it should start to outpace the other majors. But yeah, if I'm just looking at this chart, it's a hard chart to love. 6-month chart, really hard chart to love. Jesus, man. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see this one actually head down to 2.5 million satoshis. That is fucking crazy. How much more pain can there be? It's a silver cross to the downside on a fucking monthly time frame. You do not see that too often for crypto assets. Anyways, moving on to Bitcoin here and finishing off with Bitcoin. I just want to remind myself that CME did close the week on Friday at 99,500. So that is a pretty big difference to what we're seeing on spot price action right now. Currently, Bitcoin trading just above $98,000. So Bitcoin perhaps likely to play out, an upside move to kind of fulfill that price before CME opens up officially later today. But it doesn't necessarily have to do that. Could create a gap, I guess. Obviously, if Bitcoin opens up significantly lower, I mean, that'd kind of be a medium-term top area or top sort of signal. I think that's a little bit less likely, but hey, that is what it would be if that did happen. So that's a big if right there. Anyways, going over into Bitcoin for the weekly closure on the HPDR, I just want to outline that coming into next week or this coming week, the week of Thanksgiving. That's what I'm trying to say. We could easily see corrections down to 93,500. It's possible, yes, but ultimately, as long as Bitcoin's above $93,500, very, very likely we do see new highs in the next week or two. I think this week probably kind of makes sense. Typically during holiday weeks, markets kind of float up and to the right. You don't really see anything super, super crazy. But I remember back in 2017, Bitcoin or crypto just in general, like everything in this fucking market, like the real bull market, like the craziest bull market I've ever seen, the ICO craze of 2017, it was going strong literally on that week of Thanksgiving. And it's a perfect backdrop. You know, everyone's at home talking to each other, eating with each other, you know, at Thanksgiving dinner, and you just can't not talk about your cryptos. So fair enough. Anyways, perhaps we get a repeat of that this year. It kind of seems like that might even be likely to me. But yeah, technically speaking, weekly could easily come back down and fill somewhere around $93,500. As a low in this coming week. So just be aware of that. Until then, direction I suspect is still kind of up and to the right, and things can get really crazy here in December. Now, keep in mind there is going to be. It's extremely likely to be a correction. You know, even on a daily time frame at some point. In fact, I do think that it is kind of likely that we get one more shot to the upside here. We're starting to see BBWP expand again on the daily time frame a little bit. It's not confirmed. This is intraday reads right here. But what I really want to see is the double derp signal that I've been speaking about, where it pops back up, hits extreme levels, and then that's the high. And that is a really, 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 really dependable signal for major highs when you get the double extreme on daily BBWP or any time frame for that matter. But in this case, it's the daily. So that actually would imply, you know, we probably do see, you know, maybe Bitcoin have a very short-term correction. Maybe it comes down around here, but after that, tries for new highs this week, and that's going to be a big high. Then you get your first real daily correction, and it's going to scare the ever-loving shit out of everyone. So, you know, it could look something like this, I guess. You know, it pops up, boom, comes down, maybe even all the way down to like 88,000. I mean, there is a nice gap around $80,000 as well. Sets in a higher low on the daily and then continues up, you know, into end of December, early, you know, January, something like that. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, that would be a pretty fucking scary move. Like, imagine it going to $110,000 and then all the way back down to 80. It's a $30,000 swing. But that's not uncharacteristic for Bitcoin. Bitcoin can easily play out 20% corrections in bull markets. I mean, shit, we've already seen that plenty of times over the past couple of years here since 2023 began. And we've seen bigger corrections than that in past cycles, but I'm not necessarily convinced that we'll see that severe. Maybe 20%, 25%, 30% starts to get a little bit scary. But yeah, anyways, that'll do it for today. Again, just a quick reminder that everything is going to be on sale for this upcoming week, the Black Friday sale, if you will. And yeah, you can have a little bit of an advanced sale price as of right now. If you're watching this video on a Sunday, again, the code is BLACK in all capitals, literally the word black, as the color is as well, black. BLACK. Anyways, as always, wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.